Alright folks, we are coming here to talk about Jane Eyre, which is one of my most hated pieces of classic literature ever, and I'll tell you why I hate it. So the story follows this young woman, and she's been raised by her aunt who doesn't love her, and she gets sent to a school where it's basically the Dickensian horror novel of schools. You know, the kids are underfed, etc., and beaten and all the Victorian horror stuff. And she becomes a teacher, and she gets tired of being a teacher, and she decides she wants to go and be a governess. So she advertises, and the housekeeper answers, and this little girl, Adele, lives in a mansion of this very rich guy named Mr. Rochester, who's our romantic lead for whatever dumb reason. And she becomes the governess to this little girl. And then Mr. Rochester comes home, and we find out he's the romantic lead for whatever reason. And I can kind of understand like having a little bit of fantasy, because he does say some very, very romantic things, but we do not need to idealize him as the ideal man, as many women I know do, because he's not. And and for those of you familiar with the story, you know that he has his real wife locked up in an attic while he goes and seduces multiple other women, and including our protagonist, Jane Eyre. So I understand, like I said, he does do some good speeches, but he should not be held up as the epitome of manhood, because he's an awful person. Not only is that thing with his wife real, he's also like a terrible boss, and that honestly is what irks me the very, very most of everything. So this is when Jane hears that her aunt is sick, probably dying, and her aunt wants her to come home and nurse her, and so she's like, sure. And then so she talks to Mr. Rochester. She's like, I gotta go for a little bit. And he's like asking her all these questions. At first he seems very concerned, just asking her like, how are you gonna get there? How are you gonna get back? Etc. And then he says, when must you go? Early tomorrow morning, sir. Well, you must have money. You can't travel without money, and I dare say you have not much. I have given you no salary yet. How much money have you in the world, Jane? He asked, smiling. Why is he smiling? That's creepy. I drew out my purse, a meager thing that it was. 5 shillings, sir. He took the purse, poured the hoard out into his palm, and chuckled over it as if its scantiness pleased him. Soon he produced a pocketbook. Here, he said, offering me a note. It was £50, and he owed me but 15. I told him I had no change. Okay, so he is like, first he's like, heh, you don't have any money. Here's money. And like, okay, nice. Okay, he's giving her money so she can go visit her sick aunt. Isn't that nice? I don't want change, you know that. Take your wages. I declined accepting more than was my due. He scowled at first, and then, as if recollecting something, he said, Right, better not give you all now. You would perhaps stay away 3 months if you had £50. Oh, gosh, sorry. There are 10, is that not plenty? Yes, sir, but now you owe me 5. Come back for it, then. I'm your banker for £40. Mr. Rochester, I may as well mention another matter of business to you while I have the opportunity. So basically, so that's great, but he doesn't pay her what she's due, okay? I don't like that. And then they talk about some other stuff that you wouldn't understand if you can't read it in context. And then, so basically, she says that she needs to leave, and she's going to advertise. And then he says, you shall walk the pyramids of Egypt. He doesn't want her to leave. He growled, at your peril you advertise. I only wish I had offered you a sovereign instead of £10. Give me back my £9, Jane. I've a use for it. And have I, sir, I returned, putting my hand in my purse behind me. I could not spare you the money on any account. So first he gives her the money, which is her wages. And then she's like, well, I'm going to leave and find a different job since you're going to get married. And he's like, give me my money back, which is not his money. It's Jane's money. Why? Little niggard, he said, refusing me such a pecuniary request. Give me the £5. Not 5 shillings, sir, nor 5 pence. Just let me look at the cash. No, sir, you are not to be trusted. Jane, sir, promise me one thing. I'll promise you anything, sir, that I think I am likely to perform. Not to advertise, and to trust this quest of a situation to me. I'll find you one in no time. So first, it's like a power play. This entire thing is a power play. First, he knows that she has no money, so he kind of gloats over it. She doesn't even like hide the fact, he's gloating over it. And then he gives her her wages, which she needs, and that he needs to give her anyway, and then he tries to get them back. Why? 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 Why?